Hey guys, welcome back. A little bit of a break in the routine here, working on my 2021 Ford Bronco 2.7 twin turbo. This is my daily driver, and I really like it. And done some work to it, so I've got a charge pipe, Canon charge pipe like this. I've got a catch can that works pretty well. I've done very little actually to the engine. One of the things I am very proud of this engine though is I dropped in a Steeda intercooler here, which just seems to have done an excellent job. I've got a K&N filter in here, but I've looked at all of the aftermarket intakes, and essentially they utilize the same snorkel from the bumper and almost exactly the same piping this direction. But what they seem to do is open up this top part. So if you look at K&N, InGen, just any that you can really find, what they seem to do is they modify the top of the box. So you've got this new port like this that pulls the air in. And I've done all sorts of reading about it, and they're like, you got people that are like, oh yeah, well all you're doing is letting in warm engine air. And yeah, absolutely, it's not a cold air intake in that sense. But essentially any more air that you can get in here, the better off you're gonna be, because the engine is intercooled, right? So this air, hot, cold, doesn't matter, is gonna go through the intercooler anyway and receive ambient cooling from the outside, right? So in my mind, allowing more air in here, particularly because I have put a bigger, more efficient intercooler in, is going to be an excellent move. So as I said, it's my daily. I'm kind of going on a limb here. I don't know, kind of nervous about it. What I intend to do is put some holes in here. I'm not going to cut the whole panel out, but put some holes through here, put a mesh that keeps anything from being sucked in like this, but essentially allow more air into the intake so that it moves through the intercooler and we get both a denser air charge, higher air charge, and then hopefully a denser, fatter air charge, because the intercooler is more efficient before it sends anything in there. So other thing I want to do at some point too is, if you look, here's one of the turbos down here, and the connecting pipe between where it comes out of the turbo and then goes into the actual charge pipes, it actually starts out quite small and then widens up. So I'd like to see if there's a kit that just a fat pipe all the way through, but we'll see. Anyway, so I'm going to pop this off. There's I don't know if you can see it here, there are 4 like hex heads like this. I'll pop this out, and then I'll show you the next stage where I'm just going to take a hole saw and cut a few holes into the top like that, drill a few holes in the top, and then put a mesh underneath it so it's nice and clean. All right, step 2, I've got the top of the intake box off, and the whole thing had these plastic ridges running along it for rigidity. I left as many as I could, so I left one here. I didn't take them all the way to the edge because even this little corner actually provides further rigidity to the box. But I took my angle grinder with a flap wheel, like so, and ground it basically flat so that I could make the cutout. And I'm trying at the moment to decide if I want to just do drill holes, like so, or if I actually want to cut a window out. I think a window would probably be the best way to go. But anyway, I ground this flat just so I could actually have a flat surface for the mesh to adhere to. I didn't want to have to like leave it raised. I also cleaned my filter. My filter was a hot mess. This is actually after using shop air to blow it clean. It was full of all sorts of crap. So anyway, yeah, so that'll go back in. I'll show you the next step. I'm gonna go ahead and make the cuts and everything like that, and then I'll lay in the mesh. I'm gonna use some JB Weld to hold the mesh to the back side. So I'll show you that next phase here in a second here too. All right, stage 2 complete. I gotta clean it up obviously because it's got all sorts of plastic crumbs and everything like that. But I just drilled out 4 corners where I wanted to cut, and then used my angle grinder with a cutting disc and just did plunge cuts like so in the middle, and then kind of brought them to the edge on each side. Pretty square. I used actually my wood screws as a template like so, but I think it came out all right. I'm going to take the just a file to the edges to clean up the edges real well, and then on the back side I left just enough of a lip around most of it, I think, where that's where the edge of the screen will sit, the mesh that I'm going to use, and I'll just run a line of JB Weld all the way around it and set that in there like that, and it should, I'll give it 24 hours to cure, but actually I think it should look pretty good on the outside when it's done. Obviously nobody's going to see this because this is in the engine bay anyway, but this should provide a lot more direct air into the intake, and should provide a cooler turbo sound too, but hopefully we'll get a performance gain, but I'll show you what it's going to look like after I clean it up. Okay, phase 3. So I took my file and cleaned up the hole there, which I think turned out pretty well. Just used a like a flat file like this. I'm going to use this It's just kind of generic Amazon grill mesh. It actually is really hard wearing considering how light and kind of flimsy feeling it is. This is actually the grill mesh I used for the Steeda, to cover the Steeda intercooler, just so it didn't get any road debris or anything, and it's actually held up really well. I've had it on there for now 4 or 5 months and it hasn't even faded. So I think it'll be pretty standard for what we're gonna use here. And then also I've got my JB Weld dual compound there to seal it in. As I said, I left a lip all the way around, so I'm gonna run a nice heavy bead of JB Weld, and I'm gonna let it set up for like at least a day. I'd love to be able to test drive it today. I know JB Weld supposedly sets up in like 5 or 6 hours, but I'm not about to test that, especially because, well, this is my daily driver, so I'm not about to test that. So anyway, I'll drop that in there. I'll show you what it looks like finalized before I leave it to cure, and then next video after that, I'll show you what it looks like on the car. All right, so here's the final product. I don't think it looks that bad, actually, considering you drop about $450, $500 for an intake that does similar things from InGen or K&N or Roush or whatever. I think it's all right. I'm quite pleased with that. And it cost maybe about an hour of work if you don't count the curing time for the JB Weld. So let me flip it over, show you the underside. All right, so I got a little paper stuck to it from the weight I was using there. But anyway, just JB Weld around the perimeter like this that you can't see from the front. It's pretty solid in there. And yeah, that's all there is to it. I'm actually kind of pleased. So yeah, we'll just get this thing on the car and I'll show you what it looks like. And just like that, back in place. I probably should have cleaned it. That's kind of shameful that I took it out of there and didn't bother to clean anything. But yeah, all done. I think it actually looks pretty good. Not professional, but also not terrible. So what I'll do is I'll make a short when I fire the engine up and give it some revs so you can hear the turbo noises. But there's a filter in there, so we'll see what kind of job it does, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. But as always, thanks for checking out the video.